Brown. Brown. Hey guys, my name is Mangson. I'm just grooving a little bit here as I'm thinking a little bit about the massive whiplash I had when it comes to Grit as a CO. You see, when you've only been a cartridge player of Advanced Wars, you kind of view Grit as this unstoppable demigod. But once you move into the competitive scene of Advanced Wars, you realize that the once immaculate, unbeatable god of snipers isn't really all that impressive in competitive play. Now, why is this? Well, on the cartridge of Advanced Wars 2, most of the maps that came with it, they were pretty choke pointy. They were small, so you could easily just build up a bunch of rockets behind a bridge, and wasn't really much that your little brother could do to beat you in that situation. But then you move over to competitive Advanced Wars, where the maps look like this. They're more open. Bases are sometimes spread far apart. Not that many mountains. This is actually considered a Grit favored map in competitive play, and even this map is open by cartridge standards. So, as a result, Grit is not very often played, and on the maps that he would be good at, he tends to be banned, because there are some maps where Grit is just an auto-win. So, if you really look at the competitive scene in Advanced Wars, Grit is a rarely played CO, because on the maps that he is allowed on, he tends to be very bad. But there are still some players that swear by Grit, who will play him whenever they can. One such player is Izanagi 007. He's very often featured over on DJ's channel, and he has Grit as his top picked CO, which is pretty impressive, honestly. That is very impressive considering he is a 1400 MMR player. And he's up against a very strong player today in a chest. You may recognize this name from the Advanced Wars Grandmaster Live tournament that DJs and I hosted. He was a player there, very phenomenally strong player. So our Grit main here has his work cut out for him, not only in his opponent, but also if we take a look at the CO matchup. It's Grit versus Max, classic grudge match. Love this one. Two polar opposite COs, indirect specialist versus the direct specialists. And I think if you ask most players, they'll say that Max has the advantage in this matchup, because Max has two things that you need to take out Grit. He has firepower to break through Grit's walls, and he has movement to reach the squishy artillery and rockets behind those walls. Grit, of course, he hates movement and firepower. He'd rather want to face neither of those things. And so Max is, I wouldn't say he's a hard counter, but he definitely has the toolkit to take Grit down early on. Max wants to rush tanks. He wants to take out Grit before he can build up that crucial mass of artillery and rockets. That's incredibly important. So we want to take a little bit of a look at this map, though, before we start. As I said, this map is actually considered one of Grit's better maps, and the reason why is because you have mountain ranges. You got 4 mountain tiles here, 3 mountain tiles here, you got some pipe seams, and the airport is not readily available. There are 2 airports on this map, but they need to be accessed either via this pipe seam right here, or by getting a black boat or a T-copter down to this island to get this airport. And that takes a while. Of course, Max is not known for building artillery, and artillery is the best way to break down the pipe seam. If you don't want to break down the pipe seam with artillery, you need to build either a medium or a neo tank. A regular tank is not going to deal enough damage to get through here. So you need a big vehicle, and then you need to fire twice, which is, that's a big time investment for Max. He'd like his vehicles to be out center. So the airports being locked away is good for Grit. Of course, once they do come online, Grit needs to build missiles, because his anti-air isn't really going to cut it. He'll still build some anti-air, but missiles is actually something you will see Grit build, especially in high funds, because they are needed to ward against Max's bombers and battlecopters. But even that can be tricky, because of course missiles have a big minimum range, and also they move incredibly slowly. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very good match. I was sent this. Submitted this on my Gmail, my advancedwarsbywebreplays@gmail.com. Appreciate all the good games coming in here. We're going to take a look at this game right here now, guys. I'm telling you, this one is worth your watch. Let's begin. So, we got Izanagi in the blue trunks as Grit up in the top left corner. We got Achestas Max in the orange star trunks. They really should be called Red Star. Actually, they were called Red Star, actually, but they censored it because of communism, I think. Kind of funny. Because they're definitely not orange. I may be colorblind, but even I know this. So, yeah, both players are going to grab that center neutral base right here. A chest opening up with a tank. Classic max opener right here. Going to try to apply some pressure. And here is the classic grid opener. Going to see tank on one side, artillery on the other, ladies and gentlemen. For the first, I'd say 10 days or so, grid players are not going to be producing anything but infantry and artillery. We'll see some rockets get added on, maybe some missiles, possibly some direct units. Grid needs some units. In fact, medium tanks are a pretty important part of Grid's composition, and the reason why he likes medium tanks is he needs some protection against Max's regular tanks, and he doesn't really want to build neo tanks because Max's medium tanks can still bust through Grid's neo tanks, but medium tanks can still hold up pretty well to regular tanks, even when they're maxes. So Grid players do occasionally add medium tanks onto their armor composition just to use as shields, and you can see already here our chest is moving out. Already his tank is threatening the artillery, so Izanagi needs to be very cautious here. You can see he's already built an artillery and he's blasting down this pipe seam. Actually deals 49 damage at base, so, but what he can do is he can attack with the infantry twice to get through here, and no. Interesting, he's going to use the tank? Interesting, okay. Oh yeah, because he wants to actually capture the airport next turn. He doesn't want to spend a turn shooting, so that actually makes sense. So again, we actually see a rocket on day 5. I guess I was wrong. Yeah, so look at that range. Look at that range. That's some nice, juicy range on Grid. And already a Neotank coming out of Max here. Neotank's very important against Grid, because there are some benchmarks that your regular tanks can't really hit. Neotanks will pretty much always kill infantry, even on cities as Max. So you need Neotanks to burst through those infantry walls, because tanks won't always cut it, not against infantry on cities and woods, so. But Izanagi already capturing the airport. Definitely important to get that as soon as possible. You can see Max hasn't even started breaking down his pipe. He can use this Neotank to do it, but this Neotank really would like to apply pressure, so the pipe sim is a big initiative investment. So, just going for the com tower here. Against Grid, yeah, he's using the Neotank to break home the pipe. Against Grid, you kind of want to deny the com towers as much as you can, because again, like Grid only has a 20% firepower increase on its indirects, but it really starts to hurt exponentially more if Grid gets like 1 or 2 com towers. It really makes his artillery and rockets hit that much harder, allows them to one-shot certain vehicles, which is not nice. And Izanagi is going for the com tower. I guess he's gonna put the artillery in such a way. No? This is just gonna get interrupted, isn't it? Maybe he wants to draw this tank over here so it's not in the center causing trouble for him. Could be the case. He's gonna deny this com tower. He's gonna try and deny Max from getting it. Both players would like to deny the com tower of their opponent. And here you have a classic example of our 2 artillery guarding each other. When they're next to each other like this, they keep each other safe. Now, of course, as a Max player, you do want to stack a tank to kill an artillery, in my opinion. Because Grid's artillery are harder to get into position, whereas tanks are not. So every time you trade a tank for an artillery, I think that's a good trade for Max, because statistically, I can see, like, Izanagi has no problems doing this. Or, sorry, a chest has no problems making this trade. Yeah, Izanagi's going to pull his artillery back and repair it, but he's happy to take that away from him, because, again, artillery are slow. They move about as fast as regular medium tanks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they take a while to get into position, and they can't move and shoot in the same turn, whereas tanks can. So tanks are just faster. So you can see Achest is happily taking these trades. He will lose both of his tanks doing this. Actually, he might not lose this one. This is a bit of a weird move. I guess Izanagi decided to stack an artillery to get the com tower. But Achest will lose this tank over here at 2104. And now Izanagi going for the airport. Rocket moving out as well. Now the rocket is locking down these properties right here, which is very smart. And yeah, look at that. 7-6. The joy of Grit first striking Max tanks. Not really what he does best. So day 8 rolls in. Let's see what Achest decides to do. He decides to finish off the artillery, and now he is threatening the com tower as well. So that com tower might be short-lived right there. And what the actual hell? Achest built a mid... Ah, he wants to lock down the airport. Okay, I guess the missile can still do that. So, yeah, max missiles have minus 10% attack power, but they can still one-shot battlecopters because they have 120% base damage. So, yeah, this is fair. You can get I actually did not know that this game would have a max missile. That's cute. But it makes sense for Chess to do this, actually, because, like, here's the thing. Grit would still like to build battlecopters and T-copters and stuff in this map because it's still walls that he can hide his units behind. Grit battlecopters are perfectly serviceable walls, and we have a Grit battleship, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look at that range. That is amazing. So Grit's gonna... Izanagi's gonna build a battleship to zone away the missile. The max missile that's gonna zone away the airport. That's really funny. That is really funny. But yeah, pulling back the artillery to be repaired. And, ooh, I like it. Putting the black boat here to prevent the missile from going into this tile, forcing the missile to go onto this city tile if it wants to lock the airport down. So using the black boat pretty strategically, we like it, we like it. Not much attention being paid to the center here. You look how empty it is in the center compared to the sides here. That is also pretty typical Grit. And actually, just starting to attack the black boat, that's cute. Kind of hard for Max to get rid of a black boat without artillery. Neo-tanks can do decently against them, if I remember correctly. I think they do like 40% damage or something. Ah, more than that actually, 50 to 60. So can two-shot the black boat. So now you can see Izanagi starting to add on battlecopters, and that is very smart because, as I said, those battlecopters, unit count is what Grit really wants the most, because the more unit count that he has, the more units he has to place in front of his artillery. So Grit is happy to build battlecopters every single turn and just add on artillery to his forces and use the battlecopters as shields. So let's see what a Chess decides to do right now. He has captured his own airport, and air units are also very good against Grit because every missile that Grit has to build is an artillery he won't have. So airports are great at pressuring Grit, keeping his artillery count down. That is really what matters. Grit will reach a critical mass where if he gets enough artillery, he just can't be beat. So you want to deny those artillery as much as possible. And wow, the tank actually finishes off the black boat. That is insane. That is insane. I did not expect that to happen. Also, it looks like I bugged out the replay. Wow, takes it down from 3 HP. That is lucky. And now a Chess has his airport lock, at least until this battleship gets closer. And yeah, a Chess has to be very careful here. And the battleship is now locking down the missile. So, yeah, reverse Uno card from Izanagi right here. And those poor infantry on the front line, man, they are gonna die very easily. And now Izanagi is threatening the comm tower, which is really bad news. Of course, a Chess currently sitting on 2 comm towers, which is very good for him, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to this one. It's going to cost him too much. And T-copters, love this. This is something I did too in my games playing Grit on this map. T-copters are actually very good units to build this Grit. And not for the reasons you may think. Sure, you can use them to transport infantry, which is nice, but they have a dual purpose. They're great blockers. 5k for a unit that you can place in front of your artillery that does not come from a base is actually very solid. So it's great. You actually want to build T-copters. Like, sure, your opponent can build an anti-air, but do they really want to spend an anti-air killing a T-copter instead of a battlecopter? But of course, the max bombers are coming in. And we're going to see max... Oh, already with the max force now on day 11. So that's an early max force. He wants to try and... He just wants to reduce the artillery count. He's under no illusion that this is actually going to do much. This won't do a lot of damage at all, but what it will do is he's training a few units just to keep Grit's unit count down. He needs to prevent Izanagi from getting to that crucial point where he just can't be beat anymore. So this is a solid max force right here. So he also keeps his comm tower for a little bit longer. And builds a fighter, actually. So day 12 rolls in. I'm thinking we're going to see a snipe attack. Yeah. So Grit players almost never want to pop their superpower. The reason why, a lot of people are curious about this, I've noticed in the comments. The reason why you almost never want to pop Super Snipe as Grit is because the firepower increase is the same as the normal power. It's just 1 extra range. If you don't need the extra range, then there's no need to pop the superpower. Just pop the regular power, it is as good. And now Izanagi is going to take a big chunk. He actually fires with his artillery on the base, so he base locks himself for a turn. which is one less artillery that he will have. But the missile goes down, very painful. Lots of units gets blasted away here. But I just probably knew this. He knew this would happen. He was happy to take the trade. Ooh, it doesn't kill the 1 HP tank. That's unlucky. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that shit luck roll right there. 1 HP tank, full HP infantry. Damn, that's like a 0-0 luck roll right there. That's bad. Oh my god. That is really bad. I would be very unhappy if I was Izanagi there. So we can see that our chest is really racing ahead in terms of income, and this is very typical in a max versus grit game. You're going to be like 5 or 6 properties ahead of the grit player as a max player, and you should be, and that still doesn't mean you're ahead, by the way. Grit, in almost every single matchup that he's in, he will find himself at least 5 properties behind his opponent, because Grit doesn't really exert the same level of map control that other COs do. But the thing is, Grit doesn't necessarily need an income advantage to win, he just needs to stay alive long enough until he gets his indirects to a critical mass, and then he will win regardless of whether his opponent is like 10 properties ahead of him. Of course, at some point you might hit the capture limit of 31, so you can't just let your opponent go haywire, but as a grit player, you really shouldn't focus too much on your income. It's all about keeping your units alive. So here Chest is doing something very smart. He's front shifting his entire army, is going to focus on this one base. Artillery, and particularly rockets, are very slow, they can't keep up. So just gonna focus on the area that is weak, and that is this base right here. So Izanagi now, I don't think he'll be able to stand against this. He probably needs to withdraw. Or he could just push heavily onto a chest space. And Grit is not shoddy in a base race format. And look at that, using his battlecopter to give himself an infantry advantage. We do love it. I think I would even maybe consider a black boat if I was him. And there's that medium tank I was talking about. Medium tank is very important for Grit. They are excellent shields, and they are necessary against max tanks. So yeah, Izanagi is going to move forward now. And we might... Oh no, actually, he's shifting some of his artillery to his other front. Let's see what happens here. So Chest now 25-17. Massive income advantage right now. Bombers coming in. This is looking pretty bad for Izanagi. This is scary stuff, but Chest still taking his time. He doesn't want to just get shot down, but all these units right here are at risk of dying when the next power comes in. But there's a lot of juicy properties for Izanagi to pick up here as well. Looks like we're going to have a bit of a base race at our hands right now, and there comes the missile. Very important to have that, but of course, 1 max force and the missile dies. So he needs to be very careful. Of course, he doesn't. Chest doesn't want to trade a bomber for a missile. That's a bad trade. Alright, day 14, and a Chest now, he's going to target those properties on the side. He also has a black boat to get this airport. Grit is... One advantage that Grit has on this map is that as long as he has a presence here, he can deny this airport very easily. But as soon as he gets pushed away, this airport will fall, and it will go over to Max. And then Max is producing like 2 bombers or 2 battlecopters every turn. That's very hard for Grit to deal with, so he wants to deny that as long as possible. And this is one of the reasons why Grit needs anti-air fighters. Fighters are too fast for missiles to catch. And fighters can be excellently used against shields. I use the shields against Grit. So Grit does need some anti-air to deal with those fighters to get them away, because they can just dart out of missile range. It's really annoying. But yeah, looking at this match right now, the Grit player looks pretty screwed. Like, I don't really like... If I was Izanagi now, I'd not be feeling very good, because look at the units that are just converging on this area right here. There's a power looming. It looks scary, man. It looks very scary. But Izanagi's just gonna, you know, push forward on his side, and he's gonna pull back. He's kind of seeding this property. Like, this base is gonna fall, so that's why he's only building infantry in it. But that's a pretty good ball of artillery on this side as well. So if it just wants to attack into this, it's gonna hurt him. And what's good about this is that it's kind of forcing a Chest to stall a little bit, which is definitely what Izanagi wants. But now a Chest is going to go and shake the base. So there's going to be no more artillery coming out of that base. And he's actually, wow, mid-turn max force. Okay, let's see what he does. He manages to take down the rocket, which is very nice. He blocks the base, takes down the mech, finishes off the artillery. More bombers coming in. Gets rid of 1 artillery, or damages it at least. So not like a super consequential max force, but he gets rid of some units, which is important for Grit to do. And he is now completely locking down Izanagi's base too. And here comes the snipe attack. And the Grit barrage has begun, ladies and gentlemen. And now it looks like Izanagi has successfully locked down a chest's base at the same time. So the base race is on, ladies and gentlemen. The base race is on. And not only that, he's trapped a chest's fighter, which is hilarious. That fighter's gonna die next turn. I don't think there's anything that that a chest can do to get it out. No, he cannot. So that was a bit of an oopsie. Solid play by Izanagi right there, trapping himself a juicy little fighter in his web. Because of course fighters can't fly over units. That's how planes work, guys. They can't fly over ground units. So now a chest has to push forward, and that 10% defense makes it a lot harder. Oh, he's actually attacking battlecopters with tanks? What is he doing, man? What? That's interesting. He's trying to damage Grit's battlecopter? I guess it's to try and... No? Huh. Izanagi can easily get a sniper attack next turn if he wants to. He can deny that. Interesting choice by a chest player. I don't really know why he decided to attack those battlecopters. But yeah, it's day 17 and 26 to 16 properties. A chest is literally 10 properties ahead right now, which is kind of bonkers. His income is almost double that of his opponent. But again, man, Grit doesn't care about that necessarily. He only cares about maintaining a high unit count. And this turn's going to be pretty painful for a chest, because look at that. Grit's artillery are firing. Missiles taking down a bomber. Anti going for another bomber. Ooh, that is a lot of damage dealt this turn. The fighter goes down. And then he pops his superpower, actually. Super snipe being popped right here. He's going to get some additional shots off here. He uses artillery to interrupt the base for one extra turn, and there's the Mega. That's what you want to do in a base race. Mega tank. Very hard for Max to deal with that. The only units that Max has that can really deal with a Mega tank, even from Grit, is either a bomber or another Mega tank. He has neither right now. He has only damaged bombers. So this Mega tank is solid from Izanagi right now. There's not a lot a chest can do to deal with that. So it's a big investment, but it delays this base for a long time. Meanwhile, Izanagi is barreling over on his opponent's side, and he will get this property. There's nothing a chest can do to stop that at the moment. That might just be a GG, I think. He's 12... Oh no, never mind. Izanagi got a few captures this turn, but he finishes 2 more caps, and he pops his max blasts. But is he going to be able to do anything? Artillery goes down. Battlecopter goes down. Another artillery. One thing I'm noticing is that... Nah, he can't go for the HQ, but... Another fighter comes in, but he's not, as much as he wants to, he's not going to be able to get this interrupt right here. He takes down the missile, which is a nice pickup, but there's another one right behind, so he's doing decent damage right here. And he's still greatly ahead in terms of income, but they are equal on unit count, and that is the big outlier right here. You never want to be equal on unit count with against Grit. That usually means you're losing. So let's see what happens here. Izanagi actually moves his Mega Tank off now, and he's starting to mop up the units. Finishes off the trap fighter, and now he's just consolidating himself. He has the battleship that is not guarding properly, but it guards against any kind of like counterattack through this force right here. And yeah, now it's looking very bad. Now you can see the property count is also going up now for Izanagi. He's at 18 properties right now. And the chest is running out of steam right now. He's really running out of steam. He's trying to consolidate his forces together. He's seeding that he won't be able to get this base. He's trying to gather his units together for like one giant push. But now Izanagi is ahead in unit count, and this is really where Grit starts to snowball. A chest has no response to these battlecopters and this mega tank right now. He has a fighter, but there's anti-air everywhere, so he can't really... Yeah, this is devastating right here. This is devastating. This is probably a resign, I think. Just still fighting on a little bit. He's trying to use this fighter to clear out some of the battlecopters. Neo tank on base. Yeah, Yeah, that's a resign right there. That is a resign, ladies and gentlemen. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So, yeah. Rare footage of Grit beating Max, albeit on a Grit-friendly map, I will admit. But still a very impressive showing from Izanagi 007 right here. That is a solid Grit matchup, and shows that Grit can be competitively played pretty effectively if you know how to use him. I think Izanagi did a very cool thing here in that he was just stalling for time, and then you could tell like it reached a critical point. I'd say maybe around day 13 or 14 where Grit just started snowballing and Chess just ran out of steam. And that is very much what will happen if you don't take down Grit quickly enough. Anyway, thank you for submitting this replay. It was a great one. I'll see you guys next time. Like, comment, and subscribe for more Grit. Bye-bye.